Hello and welcome to part 1 in a series of videos that I'm putting out this week where I break down all the fights taking place this weekend at UFC on ESPN4 from a betting perspective. So in today's video I'll be running through 3 fights, including the main event between Leon Edwards and Rafael dos Anjos. But before I get into that, I just want to let you know that over the next few weeks I won't be able to put content out as regularly as I usually do. So next week on the 24th of July, my dad is going in for ankle replacement surgery. So he's not going to be able to basically walk for, I don't know, a couple months. So it's going to require a lot of my time to go and help him out every day. So what that means is next Wednesday, the 24th of July, is just before UFC 240 between Frankie Edgar and Max Holloway. So next week, I'm going to be spending a lot of time in hospital with my dad. I think he's in hospital for like 3 days while they carry out the procedure. So next week, I'm probably only going to be able to get 1 or 2 videos out for this event. So, I probably won't even say like part 1 of 4. Probably won't even title part 1 or 2. I will just put out as many videos as I can next week. But it's unlikely I'll be able to get 4 out. 2's probably about the maximum, and then from there, all these events coming up over the next few weeks in August. I'm really not sure how many videos I'm going to be able to put out because I don't know how much of my time he's going to need. I don't know how much help he's going to need because every day after I drop my son to school, I'm going to be driving over to his house to kind of help him out because he's not going to be able to walk after having this surgery. So just want to let you guys know over the next few weeks, I won't be putting many videos out. Towards the end of August, I've also got a trip booked to Bali and Singapore, so probably won't have any videos out towards the end of August either. So really, I'm going to probably just take this YouTube thing slow over the next few weeks, and things will really start picking up then in autumn, September, October, and of course in November when I told you guys I'll be buying a brand new PC to take this channel and take the kind of content I'm producing to the next level. So just want to give you guys a heads up, so that you don't end up chasing me for videos or DMing me asking me when the next video is coming out over the next few weeks. I probably won't be putting that many videos out, but I'll do my best to get out as many as possible. What I would say is if there are any specific fights for the cards coming up that you would like me to cover, leave it in the comments and I'll do my best to include them. So for example, say I've only got time to do 1 or 2 videos for this event here, Covington against Lawler. If you really wanted me to cover, say, I don't know, Claudio Silva against Ramazan Emeev or Ilir Latifi against Volkan Ozdemir, leave it in the comments and I'll do my best to cover the fights that you guys want. So before we get into breaking down the 3 fights that I want to talk about in today's video, let's just take a few moments to go back and have a look at my performance from last week, because like I say, I've had to put the review videos on hold as well, and the results videos, they will be coming back in November though, I promise you. But the first bet that I had last weekend was on Bellator 224 on Friday night. I fired off quite a big bet on Chidi Njokuani against Rafael Carvalho in that fight for it to last longer than 1.5 rounds. Feel like the bookies made a huge mistake here. Feel like the bookies should have set the over at over 2.5 rounds, because even though both guys have got a lot of their fights ending in the first round, if you look at their records, the way these guys matched up stylistically and the way that these guys had performed when facing similar styles in the past, it was very likely this fight was going to go the distance, and it did. So kick the weekend off with a nice big winner on that. And then my second bet of the weekend, you know me guys, I like to take the sniper approach, keep things very tight and fire big and aggressively on a small number of bets that I feel super confident in. That's what works for me. And after watching the weigh-ins for UFC on ESPN Plus 13, Jermaine de Randamie became an absolute no-brainer bet. I know in the YouTube video that I put out for this fight, I said that, I recommended passing on it. But remember that fight research is a constant process of foraging for new information. So, when I put that video out, it was like the Tuesday before the fight took place. And as the week as the fight week unfolds, and we get closer and closer to the time of an event, more and more information becomes available to us that we can use. So, for example, fight week interviews come out, and we can listen to kind of the things the fighters are saying. If there are any red flags there, we can see how the fighters look at the weigh-ins, all kinds of stuff. So in the end, I decided to pull the trigger on the random at odds around 2.40. Very nice, generous, juicy underdog odds, and hit a very, very big winner on her. So the piece of information that made me pull the trigger on Germaine de Randamie was obviously how bad Aspen Ladd looked at the weigh-ins. I've been watching MMA for around 10 years now, and I can never remember a fighter looking this bad at a UFC weigh-in before. This was 36 hours. I mean, look at how badly Aspen Ladd is struggling here. This is 36 hours before she was scheduled to fight one of the greatest, if not the greatest, female Muay Thai fighter of all time. So even though there were risk factors with the bet, when you look at how bad Aspen Ladd looked at the weigh-ins 36 hours before the fight, very, very difficult to imagine a scenario where Aspen Ladd would be able to show up and perform to her full potential. So I felt that Germaine de Randamie was a great bet, and I watched these weigh-ins live, and as soon as I saw these weigh-ins, I fired off an email to my members telling them to bet her, and I also fired off a big bet on her myself. Now, there's been a lot of discussion around this fight as to whether it was an early stoppage or not, and I do think it was an early stoppage, but I also think that there's a good chance that Herb Dean had perhaps been instructed by the Athletic Commission not to let Aspen Ladd take damage. I almost feel like how she looked at these weigh-ins factored into his decision to stop the fight early, because as soon as Aspen Ladd hit the ground, Herb Dean didn't give Germaine de Randamie any opportunity to land a follow-up shot. He immediately jumped in and stopped it. And we know, every year there are a few deaths in boxing, and those deaths are usually attributed to fighters that have gone through a really brutal weight cut and have really been severely dehydrated and then taken a ton of damage to the head in the actual fight. Here we can see Aspen Ladd clearly very dehydrated, clearly struggling bad off this weight cut, and perhaps this factored into Herb Dean's decision to stop the fight, because let's be real, Germaine de Randamie hits like a man, and I mean that with the utmost respect. It's a compliment. Is it going to be a good idea to see a young 25-year-old girl like Aspen Ladd, severely dehydrated, could barely walk, and assisted 36 hours before fighting Germaine de Randamie? Would it have been smart to allow Germaine de Randamie to bounce Ladd's head off the canvas when she'd already been knocked down? It's shit like that could really result in a fighter being seriously injured. So it was an early stoppage by the I guess by the general rules of how MMA operates, but at the same time, Herb Dean might have saved Aspen Ladd from suffering a pretty severe long-term injury or worse. You never know. I've never seen a fighter look that bad at a UFC weigh-in before. So now, let us get on to the first fight that I want to talk about in today's video, which is going to be Irene Aldana against Raquel Pennington. Now, Irene Aldana is always a difficult fighter to bet on because she is just so inconsistent. Some of the time, this girl shows up and looks like one of the best fighters in the world. On her day, Irene Aldana could cause Amanda Nunes a problem. The problem is she's just so inconsistent that she always turns up and shows a different side to her. When she's at her best, she's one of the best boxers in the division. Legit one-shot KO power, which is something not many female fighters have. She is got cardio for days, very tough, very fast, great footwork. Some of the best footwork and distance management in women's MMA. She's absolutely excellent. Her problem is she's extremely inconsistent, and for whatever reason, on other occasions, she shows up flat-footed, slow, without too much pop in her shots. And also sometimes demonstrates very bad fight IQ. She's incredibly inconsistent. So whenever I see Aldana as a favourite, unless she is fighting someone that is an extremely good stylistic matchup for her, I am always reluctant to bet on her, because if we look at the odds at the moment, she's currently around about a 1.67 favourite, which is minus 149 for an implied probability of 60%. To gain any value here, you've got to cap her at 65% or better, which is a stretch because she is so inconsistent. If we knew she was going to show up and perform to her full potential, even then it would be difficult to bet her at these odds. Let's not beat around the bush. So if we then look at how she matches up against Pennington, as we've just said, Irene Aldana is not going to be a good bet at these odds. So is Pennington going to be a good bet at underdog odds of around 2.30, which is plus 130 for an implied probability of 43%? Well, absolutely fucking not. No, there's no way Pennington is a good bet here. Definitely not. Please do not bet Pennington this weekend. In fact, don't bet this fight. If you like money, pass on this fight. This is the kind of fight where no matter how much research you do, no matter how smart you think you are, no matter how much you know about MMA, there's just no way to know which way this fight is going to go, and run a mile from anyone that has a strong opinion on this fight, because you can't have a strong opinion on this fight. No one knows what's going to happen. And one of the reasons why it's so difficult to cap this fight and so difficult to feel strongly on either girl here is because we know Irene Aldana is very inconsistent, and we know Raquel Pennington, since the Amanda Nunes fight, is battling hypothyroidism, which is a huge issue. Hypothyroidism could potentially be a death sentence on Raquel Pennington's career, because if we look at some of the symptoms that she's likely to experience with her underactive thyroid, she is going to be experiencing tiredness, which definitely isn't good when you need to wake up every morning and train for 4 to 6 hours a day, maybe 3-4 hours a day, twice a day. Weight gain, definitely don't want to struggle with weight gain when you're trying to cut weight for a fight. Depression, definitely don't want to be suffering with depression when you are literally in one of the most horrible, toxic sports ever, with so many dickheads as fans who will be blowing up your phone every day telling you suck and they want you to die. That is definitely not going to do Pennington's depression any good. And also the highs and lows of being a professional fighter will also contribute to making it very, very difficult for her to deal with depression, because she is on a 2-fight losing streak. She did suffer 2 bad losses in her last 2 fights, and if her thyroid issues are making her more prone to suffering with depression, imagine how she feels having not picked up a win since 2016. We haven't seen Pennington win in over 2 years, so imagine what her mental health state is like at the moment. Probably not very good. Another symptom is slow movement and thoughts. I mean, Jesus Christ. As a fighter, you need to be fast, sharp, and technical. You need to be able to react to what your opponent is doing. You need to be able to think very quickly. So the fact that is affected by hypothyroidism is another huge red flag, and we could go on and on. Muscle aches and weakness, definitely not good as a fighter. The list goes on and on. So while hypothyroidism can to some degree be controlled by medication, there are also side effects which come from that medication, and the effectiveness of that medication is different for everyone. So Pennington, the odds are definitely stacked against her here with her health issues. Hopefully she could pull through. I mean, unfortunately, hypothyroidism is a chronic health issue. It's not like she's going to recover from it. It's probably going to be something she's going to have to live with for the rest of her life. But definitely not easy for a professional fighter to deal with those issues and that kind of medical issue while trying to compete against some of the best fighters in the world. So if we were to ignore Aldana's inconsistency and ignore Pennington's hypothyroidism, how do these girls match up? Well, Irene Aldana, I do give her quite a significant advantage when it comes to striking. Pennington has this quite basic plodding style where she just walks forward, blocking punches with her face, trying to get inside the land on her opponent. But Aldana's footwork is excellent. If both girls are at their best, Aldana should be able to stick a move, stay on the outside, use her excellent footwork to chip away at Pennington. On the ground, it's all Pennington. Irene Aldana's takedown defense has got a lot better. Her ground game has got a lot better, but she's still quite weak off her back, and Pennington has a heavy top game. So if Pennington can get this fight to the ground, she should be able to do very well. But guys, you know me, I like to take the sniper approach. For me, it is all about putting my money in strong positions. If I consistently put my money in strong positions, I know over the long term I'll make money, and that's all I care about. I only placed 2 bets last weekend, but I bet thousands and thousands and thousands on those 2 bets. One big, and made it out alive. Little smash and grab, 2 bets, 2 big winners, happy days. I placed those bets because they were very, very strong positions to put my money in. This fight, there are no strong positions. If you like money, pass. Don't try and be the smartest guy at the bar. Don't try and overanalyze things. Don't try and exert too much brain power to try and figure out who's going to win. Because the truth is, no one knows who's going to win. Both girls are going to get locked in the octagon on Saturday night. One of them's going to come out on top, and we don't know who that's going to be. So, next fight that I want to talk about is Oleinik against Walt Harris in a classic striker versus grappler matchup. So again, very, very tricky fight. I know I say this a lot, but at the end of the day, I like money. If you are one of these guys that just comes here for picks, if you're one of these guys that just comes here to see some dude recommend 5 or 10 bets an event, I am not your guy, because I like money. And the more bets you place, the bigger the swings, the more chance of incurring variance, and the less likely it is you'll be able to use compound interest to make huge amounts of cash. And I don't really care about being the smartest guy in the bar. All I care about is making money, and for that reason, my philosophy works really fucking good. So this is a very tricky fight for betting, because Oleinik and Walt Harris are 2 fighters with significant weaknesses that their opponents have the skills to exploit. So if we consider Walt Harris, excellent kickboxer, legit KO power in every strike, but he is white belt level on the ground. He is absolutely terrible on the ground, and his takedown defense isn't bad, but it's not bulletproof either. Oleinik isn't the best offensive wrestler. You know, at 42 years old, he's got badly injured knees. He does struggle to get in deep on his opponents and take them down, but on the ground, he's an absolute nightmare. And if he gets Walt Harris down and he's got a minute or 2 to work, there's a very, very good chance he will find a way to submit Walt Harris or finish the fight by TKO through ground and pound. So, Walt Harris, very low level ground game, average takedown defense, certainly not bulletproof. Oleinik will probably struggle to get him down, but if he does get him down, Harris is in big trouble. Switch back to Harris's strengths and Oleinik's weaknesses. Harris, excellent kickboxer, one of the most technical kickboxers in the heavyweight division. Legit KO power in every strike, fights out of the southpaw stance. Oleinik, terrible striking defense. Literally, this guy is at constant risk of being knocked out, but a tough Russian. But you can't eat too many shots from Walt Harris, because Harris has devastating power. So both guys have huge weaknesses that the other can exploit. Oleinik can take Harris. He'll probably struggle to take Harris down, but if he does get Harris down, Harris is in big trouble. If Harris keeps the fight standing, Oleinik's in big trouble. So this fight is very difficult to call. Very, very, very difficult to call. I don't personally think Oleinik will be able to get Harris down. Having said that, Oleinik is a tough Russian and an opportunistic grappler that, even though in the traditional sense his offensive wrestling isn't great, he just somehow finds ways to drag his opponents to the ground. And like I say, if he gets Harris to the ground with a minute or 2 to work, he probably does get a finish. Now, if we look at this fight by the odds, and the reason why I don't like this fight by the odds is Harris is currently around about an average of 1.67 favourite, which is minus 149 for an implied probability of 60%. And Alexei Oleinik currently around about 2.30, which is plus 130 for an implied probability of 43%. So the bookies are currently seeing this as roughly a 60-40 fight in favour of Harris. And I've kind of got to agree with them, simply because Oleinik's striking defense is terrible. He's at constant risk of being knocked out, and Harris carries legit KO power with every strike, and every round starts standing. Oleinik also doesn't have the best offensive wrestling, and Harris, even though his takedown defense isn't amazing, it's not easy to take him down, is what I would say. Also, Oleinik's 42 years old. Father Time is going to be punching him in the dick harder and harder every fight, so it's only a matter of time before he shows up and looks a total shell of himself. And of course, the damage that he took in his last fight against Alistair Overeem certainly won't do his longevity any good. So it's a 60-40 fight. I don't want to bet Harris here because he's at such a low level on the ground. If Oleinik does get him down, he's going to be in big trouble. To get any value on Harris here, with him carrying an implied probability of 60%, you'd have to cap him at 65 to 70% here of winning, and I can't do that because his ground game is so bad. By the same token, I don't want to roll the dice on Oleinik at 2.30, just because he's so bad striking that Harris is only ever one strike away from completely death shotting this guy and putting him away. So it's an easy pass for me. The odds are dead accurate. The bookies have done a great job capping this fight. And that shouldn't, again, I know I always say this, but that shouldn't come as a surprise to you, because betting websites are multinational. In the case of Bet365, the largest betting site in the world, they are a multi-billion-dollar company. And it is their job to bait you, to force you, to kind of coerce you into making bad betting decisions. Because if you make bad betting decisions, they make money. And how do they force you into making bad betting decisions? Well, they try and set the odds accurately on every single fight so that you feel compelled to place bets, forced to place bets when your money is in a weak position because you are not gaining value over the implied probability, and then they punch you in the dick over time and take all your cash. That is how these betting sites work. Don't give in to them. Wait for the strong opportunities to pop up, like being able to bet Jermaine Durandame at underdog odds when her opponent barely has the strength to stand up 36 hours before they fight, or when they inaccurately set the over on a fight like the over 1.5 rounds instead of over 2.5 rounds in the Carvalho against Chidi Kawani fight. Those bets are examples of very strong positions. There are no strong positions here, guys, so do not play the game. You might bet Oleinik this weekend and he might win, and you might get lucky, and you may think you're the smartest guy in the bar and you know way more about MMA than I do, and you know all that kind of shit. But trust me, if you keep rolling the dice on fights like this over the long term, you will make a loss, because there are just no strong positions here. There's nothing. Just pass. If you like money, pass. So now we go into the final fight that I want to talk about in today's video, which is going to be the main event between Leon Edwards and Rafael dos Anjos. My. Look at how good Dos Anjos looked back in the day before USADA came and stole his soul. Very, very different before USADA came into effect. This is, of course, Rafael dos Anjos fighting very lean and trim, looking good at 155 pounds against someone at lightweight. I wish I could recognise the tattoo. Ooh, I might be able to, actually. I reckon that might be Anthony Pettis. Let me know, guys, if I got it right. Is that Anthony Pettis, and do I win a prize if it is? Maybe. I'm actually going to go back and see if he's wearing these shorts for the Pettis fight. See if I can work out if that is what this picture's from. That'll be pretty cool. Anyway. Prior to researching this fight, when I saw that Rafael dos Anjos was an underdog, that did interest me. Because if we look at the odds at the moment, RDA is currently around about 2.10, which is plus 110 for an implied probability of 48%. Compare that to the odds on Leon Edwards, call it an average of 1.80, which is minus 125 for an implied probability of 56%. So, very, very close to a 50-50 fight in the eyes of the bookies. Pretty close. Obviously not bang on. The odds are a little wide of that, but getting pretty close. So when I first saw that Rafael dos Anjos was the underdog here, that did interest me, and I thought he might be a decent bet, just because from a technical point of view, I think that he is better than Leon Edwards almost everywhere. I think he is much better in the clinch, very, very nice Muay Thai in the clinch, delivers very nice knees and elbows in that position. I believe he's a way more technical striker as well. He actually lands a much higher volume of strikes per round. He is at a much higher level than Leon Edwards on the ground when it comes to Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and I guess I would actually give Edwards a bit of an advantage when it comes to wrestling. But I think if these boys went to the ground, RDA would be able to cause Edwards a few problems. So I do think Dos Anjos is technically better than Leon Edwards everywhere. So when you see a guy at underdog odds in those circumstances, the prospect of betting him becomes quite attractive. However, the problem I have in this fight with RDA and why I don't think it's that great of a matchup for him is because he is very undersized for welterweight. He's only 5'8" with a 70-inch reach. And he is fighting Leon Edwards, who is 6 foot tall with a 74-inch reach. That gives Leon Edwards an enormous size advantage over RDA. I do expect when these guys weigh in on Friday for Leon Edwards to absolutely tower over Rafael dos Anjos. And that's a bit of a problem because when I went back and watched Rafael dos Anjos' past fights against guys like Tarek Safadine and Robbie Lawler, Kamaru Usman, Colby Covington, even Kevin Lee to some extent, which is interesting because Kevin Lee is also undersized for welterweight. But what I did notice is that Rafael dos Anjos does struggle to get inside on larger opponents and land anything significant. Because he's at a significant size disadvantage and because he's primarily got a base in Muay Thai, what I noticed is that Rafael dos Anjos stands right in front of his opponents with a traditional Muay Thai style. But because he's much smaller than a lot of the guys at welterweight, you'll see him throw a strike, which might land very nicely. But because he's got that traditional Muay Thai style, he's not light enough on his feet to get back out of range and slip their shots when they counter. So he does tend to eat quite a lot of big counters, and it is quite easy to back him up for that reason. So after research, definitely didn't like Rafael dos Anjos as much. Now, Dos Anjos does land a higher volume of strikes per round than Edwards, but Edwards hits very hard. He's a big, strong guy. He's also young at 27 years old. He's going to be making big improvements from fight to fight. One more thing to bear in mind here is that both guys do fight out of the southpaw stance, and typically that would favour the more experienced striker, which is Rafael dos Anjos, just because southpaws aren't that used to, or usually aren't that used to competing against fellow southpaws, since somewhere around 70% of fighters fight out of the orthodox stance. They're more used to competing against orthodox stance fighters. But this is a very tricky fight for me to call. I do think the odds are pretty accurate because I don't have a strong lean either way. Like I say, Dos Anjos slightly better everywhere, lands a higher volume of strikes per round, but I do really think he's going to struggle with a size disadvantage here. He really, really does struggle to get inside, and I think that might cause him problems here. But I do think it'll be a close fight because Leon Edwards does struggle to put his stamp on rounds, and to be honest, Dos Anjos kind of does as well. So I capped this fight at around about 50-50, so there's not a great deal of value on either guy for me. What I would say is that, whenever we've got a main event fight, everyone's got a strong opinion. I'm sure there's going to be a bunch of people leaving comments saying, Edwards is going to starch Dos Anjos. He's going to knock Dos Anjos out in 1 minute. I don't know what I'm talking about. Edwards is going to dominate. There'll be another group of people being like, how could you not bet RDA? Edwards hasn't fought anyone. RDA is much better everywhere. Blah, blah, blah. There'll be these two camps of super passionate people that feel strongly either way. And whenever you have a main event fight, which is very, very close actually, you're gonna potentially see some line movement if a bunch of people start leaning one way. So what I would say is, it's only Wednesday. We're still 4 days before this fight takes place. If we were to see, either guy move up into the 2.40, 2.50 odds territory, which would be, plus 140, plus 150 territory, because I do cap this fight at 50-50. If either guy's odds were to reach 2.40 to 2.50, which would give them an implied probability in the 40% ballpark, then at that point there would be value there. 2.30 at a push, but for risky bets like this, I generally like to get a bigger margin than 2.30. I like to get 2.40 to 2.50. So obviously we quite obviously, when you get big fights like this with everyone having a strong opinion, we can see a lot of line movement. Dos Anjos' odds have been jumping about a bit. Since he opened at 1.74, he's now up to around 2.10, which is minus. It would be minus 130 up to plus 110. 2.10. So we've seen a bit of line movement already. Could still get some line movement. At the moment it's a pass, but if either guy were to enter the 2.40 to 2.50 plus 140 plus 150 territory, I would pull the trigger on him. And I know that is an inconceivable concept for a lot of people to watch this video, because you'll be like, how could you possibly bet on both guys? Like, how could you consider betting on both guys? Like, who is your pick? Who do you think is going to win? Tell me who's going to win. You must know. You must, you're a fool if you don't know who's going to win. And the truth is, I don't know who's going to win on any of these fights, and truly I don't care. All I'm looking for is strong positions and weak positions, and if either of these guys were to reach those odds that I just mentioned, that would be a strong position. But it's a very close fight that could go either way, and if you're able to get either guy at relatively big underdog odds, 2.40 to 2.50, that would be a very, very nice risk to reward ratio, irrespective of who I think will win and irrespective of how the fight plays out. Remember, it's all about strong positions and weak positions, avoiding the weak positions, trying to get your money into strong positions. This isn't a dick measuring contest. It's not about picks. It's not about being the smartest guy in the bar. It's about making money. And if you want to make money, only get your money in strong positions. And unfortunately, at the moment, in the 3 fights I've covered, there are no strong positions. But don't worry, because I'll be back tomorrow breaking down another 3 fights to try and find some strong positions. So if you liked today's video, guys, please hit the like button and also consider subscribing. And I'll be back very soon. Take care.
Too many thoughts on my mind, I can't sleep at night, so I just keep writing. I don't need no help, I don't need opinions, so don't waste my time then. I just been living online, my city don't show me no loving, that's fine. Fuck local radio stations, I got more plays than all of these rappers combined. I'm going again, I've been going in, I'm fed up with so many things, I gotta just let it all out. I'm talking about the shit they've been talking.